The first time humanity's warships appeared on the galactic network, the galaxy laughed. Their hulls were angular, clunky things, built of crude alloys and driven by chemical thrusters that looked more at home on a mining barge than in a battle line. The core ward race's elegant species with vessels that shimmered like sculpted art called them scrap hulks. The Rim Confederacy mocked them as pre-industrial barges. And in the Grand Senate, an entire session of representatives had to be adjourned because the laughter became uncontrollable when someone projected an image of USS Blackridge, the pride of Earth's Terran defense fleet, next to a Zandari battlecruiser. "Do they intend to throw these boxes at us?" someone had jeered. Commander Jack Reynolds remembered that moment vividly. He had been Earth's military attaché to the Grand Senate then, seated in the gallery, forced to watch as humanity's first attempt at joining galactic defense initiatives became a comedy routine. He hadn't laughed. No one on the human delegation had. They had simply watched, listened, and memorized every insult. And now, 3 years later, Commander Reynolds stood on the bridge of that very same Blackridge, and the galaxy wasn't laughing anymore. The ship's interior was dark, lit only by the glow of combat displays and the cold blue of the reactor core behind armored bulkheads. A distant hum resonated through the deck plating, the fusion drive running at peak. Beyond the forward viewport, a field of stars shimmered, and somewhere among them lurked the enemy. Contacts at bearing 098, Lieutenant Sarah Kane reported from Tactical. Her voice was steady, but her hands were white-knuckled around the edge of her console. Multiple drive signatures. 12, maybe 15. They're spreading into an encirclement pattern. Reynolds nodded once. "Bring weapons online." "Full power." "Yes, sir." The crew moved with precision, quiet, focused, professional. 3 years of being laughed at had burned something into them. The Terran defense fleet had trained in silence, prepared in secret, while the galaxy mocked them. And when the border raids began, when the Jareth Dominion swept through human colonies on the outer spiral arm, killing civilians and burning settlements, humanity did not beg for help. They brought out the Blackridge and every ship like her, and they declared war. The Jareth hadn't laughed, either, not after the first battle at Tanis Rift, when a single human destroyer sacrificed itself to ram a Dominion carrier, annihilating half the Jareth strike force in a white-hot fusion blast. The war had only escalated from there. "Enemy ships on approach," Sarah said again. "Their weapons are charged." "All stations," Reynolds said, his voice calm, almost cold. "Prepare to return fire. Helm, bring us 30 degrees starboard, give the rail batteries a clear arc." The Blackridge turned, her aging frame groaning, but her guns aligned perfectly on the predicted intercept point. Her main rail batteries weren't elegant plasma lances or gravitic disruptors like the core ward navies used, they were brute-force electromagnetic cannons, the largest humanity could manufacture, capable of hurling tungsten slugs at near-relativistic speeds. Crude, primitive, and devastating. "Targets locked," Sarah said. Reynolds' jaw tightened. He remembered the laughter in the Grand Senate. He remembered the newsfeeds that called humanity the backwater upstart species. He remembered the way the Dominion ambassador had smiled when he said the word subjugation. Fire. The first volley tore through the void like vengeful gods. Kinetic slugs screamed across the black at a fraction of light speed, invisible until they struck. One moment, the lead Dominion cruiser was moving into formation. The next, it was a cloud of expanding plasma. Direct hit. Sarah's voice broke into something close to awe. Second and third targets, confirm kills. We got them all, sir." A silence fell across the bridge, broken only by the hum of the reactor. Reynolds didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply gave the next order. "Reload. Prepare for the next wave." Because there would be a next wave. There always was. Hours later, the debris field floated silently, shattered Dominion hulls glinting like dying embers. The Blackridge coasted among the wreckage, scavenging power cores and data logs. The crew worked in grim silence. War wasn't glory. It wasn't cheering. It was this, the smell of burned circuitry, the rattle of loose hull plates, the knowledge that somewhere out there, more enemies were coming. Reynolds stood at the viewport, hands clasped behind his back. His reflection stared back at him, tired, gaunt, but unbroken. "Commander," Sarah said quietly, stepping up beside him. "We just received a transmission from Fleet Command. They say the Dominion is mobilizing. All sectors. Full war footing." Reynolds exhaled slowly. So this was it. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's ships. But now? Now they would learn. They want death? Reynolds said softly. "We'll give it to them." Sarah didn't answer, but her eyes were hard, cold. Like everyone else on the crew, she had lost someone in the raids, a brother, a friend, a home. "Plot a course for the nearest colony," Reynolds ordered. "We'll need to rearm before the next fight." As the Blackridge turned, its battered frame shining faintly in the starlight, a single thought echoed through the crew. No one was laughing now. The stars were burning. 2 weeks after the battle near Illyra's Belt, Commander Jack Reynolds stood on the command deck of Blackridge once again, watching the real-time tactical map unfold. Red markers, Dominion fleets, were multiplying faster than Fleet Command could track them. The war was no longer a series of raids. It was a conflagration spreading across entire sectors. The Dominion's first mistake had been underestimating humanity. Their second mistake was giving humanity time to fight back. "Status on Task Force Vega?" Reynolds asked. Communications Officer David Morales looked grim. "We just got word, sir. They broke through the siege at Erythra. Casualties heavy, but the colony is holding. Admiral Thorne is requesting reinforcements before the next wave hits." Jack exhaled through his nose. "And the nearest ships?" "Us, sir." Of course. The Blackridge had been running on fumes since the last engagement, stripped hull plating, overheated railguns, reactor shielding patched with whatever spare alloys they had left. They had barely enough ammunition for one more major fight. But that didn't matter. "Helm, set course for Erythra. Maximum burn." "Aye, sir." The deck shuddered as the fusion drives roared to life. Sarah Kane glanced up from tactical, her brow furrowed. "Sir, if we jump into another major engagement without resupply." "I know." Reynolds met her eyes, steady. "But if Erythra falls, 10,000 civilians die. I won't let that happen." The crew didn't argue. They didn't have to. Every one of them knew why they were here. When they arrived in Erythra orbit, the system was a graveyard. The remains of Dominion destroyers floated alongside shattered human frigates. The colony's defense grid was offline, power relays melted from sustained bombardment. And in the distance, like a predator circling wounded prey, a Dominion carrier group waited. "They're holding position just outside the planet's shadow," Sarah reported. "Looks like they're recharging their weapons." "Good," Reynolds said grimly. "That means they're not expecting us." He studied the tactical map, tracing vectors with his finger. The Dominion carrier group had arranged itself in a perfect crescent, standard formation for a planetary siege. Which also meant there was a blind spot along their rear flank. Perfect. "Helm, bring us low and behind the moon." "Tactical, prep a full broadside. We'll hit them from behind before they know we're here." Morales hesitated. "Sir, if we go in alone against that many." "We won't be alone," Reynolds said. "Signal Admiral Thorne. Tell her to have every gun, every drone, every rail battery ready to fire on my mark." The Blackridge slid silently through the void, its scarred hull blending with the moon's shadow. "Targets locked," Sarah whispered. Reynolds waited until the ship was lined up, every gun loaded, every crewman braced. The bridge was silent, save for the low hum of the reactor. Fire. The first salvo struck like a thunderclap across the void. Tungsten slugs slammed into the lead Dominion cruiser, shearing it in half. The Blackridge rolled hard to starboard, unleashing its portside batteries into the carrier's exposed hangar bays. Explosions bloomed silently in the black. Dominion ships scrambled to respond, but they were too slow. "Admiral Thorne is engaging." Morales shouted as the human task force surged out from the planet's far side, joining the attack. Railgun fire and missile streaks filled the stars. "Keep pressing," Reynolds barked. "Target their command ship." The Dominion carrier began to pivot, its massive spinal cannon charging. If it fired, it would vaporize half the human fleet. Reynolds didn't give it the chance. "Helm, all ahead. Ram course." The bridge fell silent. Sarah turned to him, eyes wide. "Sir, you heard me. If that carrier fires, everyone down there is dead. We take it out now." The Blackridge surged forward, drives howling, its guns hammering away at the carrier's shields. "Impact in 30 seconds. Sarah shouted. Reynolds gripped the console, teeth clenched. He wasn't afraid. Not anymore. The carrier's shields flickered once, twice, then collapsed. "Now!" Reynolds shouted. "All batteries, fire everything we've got." The final broadside ripped through the carrier's core. Its reactor went critical in a blinding flash, and for a heartbeat the stars themselves seemed to vanish in the glare. When the light faded, the carrier was gone, a spreading cloud of molten debris. The rest of the Dominion fleet broke formation, retreating into FTL jumps one by one. Erythra was saved. Hours later, the Blackridge hung in orbit, smoke still rising from its battered hull. Admiral Elaine Thorne appeared on the comm screen, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and pride. "Reynolds," she said, "I don't know how you're still in one piece, but you just turned the tide of this war." The Dominion fleet was their primary siege group for this entire sector. Without it, they'll have to fall back and regroup. Jack nodded, though he didn't feel like a hero. Too many of his crew were gone. Too many friends would never come home. "We're not done," he said quietly. "They'll be back. And next time, they won't underestimate us." Admiral Thorne's lips curved into something like a smile. "Good. Let them come." As the transmission cut, Jack looked around the bridge. His crew was bruised, burned, exhausted, but every pair of eyes that met his was burning with the same fire. The galaxy had laughed at their ships. But tonight, in 100 star systems, news of the Blackridge's charge would spread like wildfire. And the galaxy would not laugh again. The galaxy had learned fear. By the time Commander Jack Reynolds stepped onto the bridge of Blackridge for the third time, entire sectors had been reshaped by the war. Dominion fleets had been shattered repeatedly, Corward navies had begun to take humanity seriously, and whispers of Terran wrath spread across communications like wildfire. The Blackridge was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol scarred, battered, and lethal beyond measure. Its blackened hull bore the marks of dozens of engagements, each dent and burn a testament to survival, to resolve, to human defiance. "Commander," Lieutenant Sarah Kane said, her voice tight, "we've got incoming from 3 vectors. This isn't a raid, it's a full mobilization. Every fleet in the system is converging." Reynolds' jaw clenched. "Good. Let them come." The viewport swelled with enemy vessels, Dominion carriers, destroyers, frigates, and sleek Sandari mercenaries, all converging in a coordinated strike. From orbit, the planet below Terra Nova, a human colony glowed with the dim light of generators struggling to survive. Civilians were evacuating, but many still remained. And that made this fight absolute. "Ready weapons, full power shields, launch drones," Reynolds ordered. "We're not leaving this system until every last one of them regrets laughing at us." The battle began like a storm tearing across the void. Kinetic projectiles screamed past human vessels, plasma beams lanced the darkness, and electronic warfare pulses scrambled sensors across the battlefield. But humanity fought differently. Their ships were smaller, faster, and more maneuverable than the bloated fleets of their enemies. Each hit they took was calculated, each strike they delivered precise, merciless, final. "Target their command cruiser," Sarah said, fingers flying over the console. "If we take it down, the rest will scatter." "Agreed," Reynolds said. "Bring the Blackridge alongside. All guns, all drones, all fighters fire." The human fleet surged forward, a tidal wave of death. Railguns tore apart armor, missile swarms shredded shields, boarding drones infiltrated enemy vessels, detonating cores from within. Commander, Morales called from comms, the Dominion flagship is attempting an FTL jump. Not on my watch, Reynolds said. Vector intercept, full burn. The Black Ridge and her escorts cut across the void with surgical precision, intercepting the flagship as it tried to escape. Human weapons struck simultaneously from every angle, a coordinated death sentence. And then Reynolds gave the order that would echo in history. Prepare the Nova charge. No other fleet had dared use this weapon. It was humanity's last resort, a device capable of detonating with the force of a small star, precise enough to obliterate a single system without destroying nearby colonies. Few had believed Earth would risk it, but Reynolds did not hesitate. Charge locked. Ready on your mark, Commander, Morales confirmed. Mark, Reynolds said. The Nova detonator pulsed once, twice, then unleashed a blast of white-hot fury. In an instant, the Dominion flagship and its escorting fleet were obliterated, vaporized into nothingness. Ships that had laughed at humanity's crude barges were gone. Entire command chains of the enemy were destroyed in a single, blinding stroke. Across communications, stunned voices cried out in disbelief. The galaxy had laughed. They had mocked. But now, humanity had unleashed death with surgical precision, and nothing in the universe could stop them. Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. The stars were littered with debris, a testament to human ferocity. Survivors from the Dominion and their allies fled into hyperspace, terrified, confused, and broken. The human fleet, battered but unbowed, hovered above Terra Nova. The planet was scarred but safe. Reynolds walked across the bridge, shoulders heavy with exhaustion. He had seen more death than any one man should bear, and yet he was unbroken. Around him, his crew stared at the tactical map, eyes wide with disbelief and a strange, burning pride. Sarah Kane stepped beside him. They won't come back, she said. Reynolds nodded. No. And if they do, humanity will be ready. Admiral Elaine Thorne appeared on the screen once more, her eyes reflecting the devastation and the victory alike. Jack, you've done it. You've turned the galaxy on its head. Human ships are no longer mocked. They're feared. Reynolds allowed himself a small, grim smile. Good. Let them fear. Let them never forget. The Black Ridge floated silently above Terra Nova, its hull blackened, its weapons spent, its crew battered but alive. And in that silence, one truth reverberated across the galaxy. Humanity had arrived. They had been laughed at, scorned, and underestimated. They had been called primitive, backward, and weak. And yet, when the war came, they became the storm that tore through fleets and shattered empires. And the galaxy knew, with a cold certainty that would echo for centuries, that the next time humans appeared, they would bring not just war, but death itself. Reynolds turned to his crew, weary faces lit by the soft glow of the bridge consoles. Set course for home, he said. We fight again when the galaxy dares to challenge us. But tonight, we rest. And we remember those who gave everything for this victory. As the Black Ridge slid into warp, leaving the battlefield behind, every crewman understood, they had not just survived. They had carved humanity's place in the stars with fire, precision, and an unyielding will. And the laughter? It would never return. The galaxy had learned. Death rode with humanity now, and it was absolute.